I'll try to fight for it.
Thank you for your indulgence. I'd like to call the study session on the Board of Trustees to order. Clerk Christie, will you take roll, please?
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. Kennedy?
Here.
Ms. Kavanaugh? Mr. Christie here? Mr. McRae?
Present.
Mr. Sullivan?
Present.
Supervisor?
Present. Everybody is present. The purpose of the study session this evening is to discuss a few other budgets. You have the same format that we've been using. The first is Parks and Rec or Leisure Services. The second is DPS. Before we begin, I'd like to share with the board some additional work that we continue to do as it relates to revenue sharing on a state side. And today we think we have received some good news from the governor's proposed budget. We don't know yet exactly if it will be accepted or not. We hope that it is, and if it is, we'll bring that to you with some new numbers at our next meeting. The flip side, with the good always comes the bad. We received notice of some other information today relevant to our insurance. We will bring that information to the board at another time as well.
Labor insurance or?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm meeting with MMRMA next week. Major. Right now, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, just really need to eat something. Maybe a candy bar. Got them for sale for $1.
Yeah.
Stop
Probably eat too many. Grants. Would you all?
So,
You left the punch sheets?
zero. So I'll turn it over to Director Kopinski. Turn it over to Susan.
There you go. Thank you, everyone. The only other thing I'd like to add to what Tracy said is that I did talk to somebody, representative from the Michigan Treasury today, and in addition, she did verify for sure that the reduction in this year's, the state fiscal year's constitutional sales tax revenue to all the communities was reduced because of the gas tax, sales tax, because of the wonderful gas prices. Not so wonderful sales tax comes out of that. But she did verify that. I've been trying to get that out of them for a couple of weeks, so that's, I just wanted to let you know. So.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start on page 1 of 7 for Parks and Rec. This is General Fund, Redford Summer Food Program. In terms of revenue, the board knows or may remember that whatever we take in is what goes out. Teresa, do you have anything you want to add to the food program?
The only thing is, obviously, the revenue is generally more than what goes out. So we do bank the surplus of that money, so it's used in future years for if we need a new refrigeration unit, if we want to bring some special events to it, if we want to purchase any supplies for the program, that just gets reinvested in the program. So we try to be pretty conservative on the number because it all is based on how many lunches that we give away. Last year we gave away 4,600 breakfasts and about 6,500 lunches. So once again, we estimated about 20,000, even though you see that last year we had 28. When we originally did this budget, I had got in touch with everybody, but El Bethel is back on with us again. They will be doing it with us. The Redford Library will be doing it again. All the rest of our sites will stay the same, and then I've extended it to all of the interfaith community as well to see if they want to offer it. So this may be larger, but we'll just do that as a budget amendment if things come in.
Any questions on that one? Let's go to 75-100 at the bottom of the page. This is specific to recreation and parks. Teresa, go ahead.
Once again, most of the budget has stayed the same from this past year. We just made a couple line item adjustments based on where items were being spent out of. So you're not going to see much of a difference in what our amended budget was for this year in next year's budget. So it's a little bit down, and we just, like I said, adjusted some of those numbers. If you look on the revenue side as well, our revenues are actually a little bit above our expenditures, so they cover all of this portion.
And the revenues were given to you on Monday night, if you're looking for them. So, go ahead. Yep.
I noticed that there's a increase in the projected activity from this year to the recommended 2016-17 budget on the third line down, which is part-time wages. Am I reading this correctly? Is that comes from that? Is this part of that grant that we had gotten for summer interns? That's something different?
That's under the mental health. That will come later.
Okay.
But if you look under your footnotes, it will say part-time wages. So this year, unfortunately, we had lost one of our staff members during that time, as well as we ended up shifting a staff member over to full-time. So that's why those wages weren't used this year. We kept them in the budget though, because we are dependent on one of our staffing over there on a volunteer, and I don't think that's a way to run anything. So we want to bring back one of the staff members over there for our after-school activity, and then it was all the rest of the budgeted positions in because we did finally hire someone in as the building supervisor.
Great.
Through the chair. How comfortable do you feel with your staffing? I know maybe it was last year, especially around like softball season, you know, it seemed like it was kind of chaotic where you're running around and doing a lot of stuff. Did we ever kind of fill the need with a person to help you out?
We did. So the reason right at softball season was when Jan had resigned. So unfortunately, we were splitting those duties at the community center. I was running back and everything. So I do feel comfortable. Obviously, we would love more staff to be able to do more programming, but the staff that we have there are doing tremendous jobs, and they're expanding every day. So I think we're good right now.
Okay, very good.
Oh my God, Scarf. Wow.
Scare his dog.
Cell tower. It's gonna scare my dog.
So cell tower, sorry, I'm flipping between two to share with John. So the cell tower, what you'll see is we were able to.
Check it, I got it.
Hey, Tina, you want to go check it?
Bring one back to
He's sneezing in a pain.
I think we needed that.
I'll take care of it. Take care of it. I grew up with allergies. It's just always.
That's not a sneeze.
Those are healthy sneezes.
Yeah.
The big item under the cell tower, Teresa, is the capital line.
Correct.
So let's spend some time on that.
Okay, so as everyone knows, we have tried to plan some capital improvements over the last several years. Due to timing with softball season, getting those specs in, we weren't able to do those at that time. We've been pushing ahead with them. The match, if you look under the equipment capital, which is $97,700.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure everybody's that it's page 3 of 7.
So the DNR grant match, we took that out of this line item. As everyone knows, the cell tower is only dedicated to Parks and Recreation. So we pulled that out of there. This is for the grant that we received from the DNR with Craft Park. So we have a match with that obligated. The bathroom renovations, it's in concrete. We have that in there for the Handy Park as well, to make sure that that gets finished. The Claudia Ellison, it's kind of split into different categories. The first one is the bathroom renovation demo. We set aside $149,000 out of our capital that we originally had set aside for that. There's $50,000. And Susan, I think that these notes, are they incorrect? Because didn't we change that a little from what we pulled out of the reserve fund a little bit?
The opposite from CDBG. No.
Because there's $20,000 set aside from the building. There's two separate parts in the building fund, or did you combine it all together? assume we're gonna talk about the transfer in.
Combined.
Okay, so the transfer in total, can you refresh that one? Is it 409?
402.
402. There's a 402 building fund. Part of that was dedicated and set aside for park facilities. And then we looked to grabbing some more of that money so that way we could finish this, the demolition and reconstruct.
Construct the new building that caught us.
So that's where those line items are combined, and you'll see that part of it on there.
Grabbing isn't really the right term. The money was set aside through an allocation through the capital fund, through 402. Teresa is asking through this budget to actually utilize the capital that's already been set aside. Sound better than grabbing, Teresa? Probably more accurate.
Sure. I was trying to look at my notes here because that was set aside when we first put it in there,
Right.
how we allocated it, and then we changed the way that we wrote it. So those are the capital, equipment capital that you'll see in there. That's the $325,000 that's set aside. The rest of it, we were actually able to move the difference in the salaries. One of our staff members, we were actually able to move her into community block grant. And you'll see later in Parks Facility, and move my salary out of community block grant into more of the parks to accurately reflect what my duties were doing. So we were able to move that over there, so that's why you'll see the drop in that as well.
So when we talked briefly about Mike's CDBG contract or budget last night, we talked and about other departments. We talked about putting people where they should be. And that was one of the other benefits of moving people back into CDBG or out of. Okay? Any questions on that part? Okay. So moving on to Parks Facilities. This is really a skipped over the endowment fund.
So currently, the Health Endowment Fund is the Housing Michigan grant that we received. This number will change slightly. Katie and I were working on it today. It's basically a reimbursement grant, so we were given $14,000 from them, and we get reimbursed upon sending that to them. So this year we figure it's a little bit under $4,000 that we'll be getting reimbursed for, and then in the next fiscal year there will be about $80,000. So part of the equipment's already purchased from them, so they take it off of what they give us. So that's why you'll see it doesn't exactly equal $14,000, because they purchase some of the equipment and take it off of what they have. So that is the same thing, what comes in for them. Sure.
Parks Facility is a tag team effort between DPS and Leisure Services. So we'll let John and Teresa talk to you about some of the other changes here.
So you'll notice when I talked about the salaries and wages line, that's where we moved my salary out of the CDBG and moved it in here to accurately reflect some of the duties that I was doing over here. The part-time wages, some of that is what we allocated. Obviously, when we have part-time wages, it all depends on when we start them. So in the parks, it depends on the weather, it depends on what projects are going on there. So we stagger our staff. This year we had a really rainy beginning of the season, so they didn't start right away. So some of our part-time wages were not used, and we were able to move them around so that way we could fix some of the other things that we needed to in the cars, i.e. one of our ball diamond light crossbars broke. And that's something that we didn't necessarily plan for, because we didn't think it was going to break, but it was a safety thing that we needed to fix. So we were able to manage to the bottom line on our budget and move that there so we could fix that. So that's why you'll see such a difference in that. But these are the same amount of workers that we allocated for last year, all based on the rate of the 165 that was voted on as for last year. Yes.
And this is sort of related. I mean, it's related to your overall budget. Why is it that your title's Director of Parks and Recreation, your department's Leisure Services? Does it have to do with how you're budgeted in the budget and we just haven't changed the name? It seems kind of confusing maybe to residents. I get it. I think we all get it. But
I can answer that for you. There is not a ordinance that allows for Director of Leisure Services. the ordinances Parks and Rec Director. And for purposes of simplicity, we just left the same title.
Yeah, okay. All right, just curious.
Yep.
As we go down, more of the list on page 4 of 7. Most of the information that you'll see on there, up into basically repairs and maintenance. That's one of the line items that we moved over, so that's where you can see the difference between the part-time wages that were there. If you're looking under the amended budget, I'm sorry, it's at $55,000. We are pretty confident that we're able to do everything that we need to do within the park system for the $45,000 this year. We're doing really well with leveraging other funds and other grants as well. So we're hoping that this, under that line item, will be able to be done by that. Central maintenance allocation, as before, that's the allocation that's done at the end of the year, or bi-yearly through the finance and John. If any of his other workers are used with our park system, that it gets allocated for their time there to accurately collect that. Same as vehicle maintenance allocation. The land improvement parks, this is where we put in the grants. I believe that's where we put the grants in correctly. And Susan? Oh, that was on the wrong one, sorry. Yeah, so if you look under page 5 of 7, it details it out. Those are the Wayne County ones. So Wayne County, when the funding comes in, it's always about 2 years behind by the time we send in the projects that we would like. It comes to our board, it goes back to their board, it gets voted. So we have 2 years to complete our projects. And we have the completion of the tennis courts, which is the $25,000 that's going to be happening this spring over at Claude Allison Park. And then the $28,000, which is left from the one that we just finished up here, which is the Handy Park Ball Diamond, which most of that was already completed, and then the walking path as well. We're fixing those.
Shelter.
And then sorry, and then the shelter is under that too. So we are still waiting for that one to be approved by Wayne County. Everything's set on our end. They were saying hopefully by the end of this month that we'll get that approval. So as soon as we get that approval from them, we'll go ahead and start those projects. And then the last one is obviously the $50,000 from the DNR that we were allocated for that. So that's the bump in that line item that you'll see. And that is all of it. So is there any questions on that?
Questions on Parks and Rec? Some really nice projects that are planned, and I think last year we officially moved Teresa into the role as director, and she has really done well. I'm very proud of her efforts, and she's a very good director. I think we're very lucky that we have her and that we made that official. It's hard to believe it was a year ago. Thank you.
Chair, I have a question on parks facilities. All these is money, this comes out of the parks budget, and at the meetings we review bills and approve them. Are all these parks facilities bills coming before the parks, or are they taken out in advance? Like for automobile maintenance, or vehicle maintenance, gas and oil?
Sure, most of the line items that you see there, Commissioner Bailey, are items that are keyed in specifically by personnel. So you'll, for example, FICA, right? That's line 2. FICA is the amount of tax that the township has to pay on behalf of an employee. The department head doesn't have any control over that at all. They can't raise it, they can't lower it unless they were to reduce staff or increase staff. Those are formula driven. They're driven by the finance department. So if you look at all of those lines, if you go down to equipment less than $5,000, that would be a recommendation from the director as to what type of equipment needed to be purchased. And that information would go to the park commission in terms of this is what I bought. And trying to be as transparent as possible. The other items regarding utilities, repairs and maintenance, for example, those are all driven by what happened in that specific department, and those are requested through the department and approved by finance.
So if I'm repairing a truck and I order an oil filter, in times when I was previously on the Parks Commission, we would see that that oil filter was purchased from Murray's or wherever it was. Now, I don't see that.
No, we have a central maintenance department. We centralized all of our maintenance for all departments. And we have 2 people who are employed by the township in central maintenance. All of the equipment is purchased out of central maintenance. All of the product is purchased through central maintenance. And as a department utilizes the service from central maintenance, it is billed back through finance to the department.
Without us even seeing that bill. Because there's only two bills that I remember that came through that required maintenance. One was 4 wheels for a pickup truck, and the other was at one time some fan belts for a mower or something like that. Other than that, I don't remember seeing that. And I see the line item here of maintenance for parks upwards of, what, $41,000.
Which line are you looking at specifically?
Repairs and maintenance, $41,000, which is a 2015 to 2016 activity through January.
So Katie, can you tell us?
Well, I'll speak up to that.
Okay.
That is the operation and the maintenance of the parks on a daily basis.
Right.
So anywhere from chalk to spray paint to fertilizer to whatever is needed. Fix a bathroom, leaky toilet, new toilet, everything under the sun. Crossbar on the light, replace the lamps on the lights, everything that's required to happen on a day-to-day maintenance of 13 parks within Redford Township.
Right. So how does that bypass parks when we get 18 basketballs? It shows up in the bills, but these other bills that are being spent completely bypass parks.
I don't know what you mean by bypass by parks. To the best of my knowledge, the Township Board approves all invoices and the warrant list of bills.
Correct. Yep.
So in the past, it's always been a courtesy for the Parks and Rec Director to give a list of what we have. I basically take the invoices from our accounts payable from each meeting to each meeting and give it on to our Parks Commission, and they will approve or not approve. By this time, our Township Board has already approved it. From my understanding, the Township Board is the authority on paying all bills. They get those bills on the warrant list after our departments have charged them on credit cards or gotten whatever. They don't look and say, yes, go out and buy 4 filters or however it is. That falls underneath the departments and the department head's responsibility. So as a courtesy, we would always come to the Park Commission to show transparency on what we were doing in that specific department.
And one more point on the credit card, as we streamline operations to be more effective and efficient, we do a lot more charging with credit cards. We don't do a single check per vendor anymore. We basically do as much as we can with credit cards because we're enrolled in a program that affords the township an opportunity to receive cash back.
Does that answer your questions?
Sure.
Thank you. Anything else on that? No? Okay. Senior Citizen Department. The only change in this department was last year when we changed the reporting as well. The budget is pretty much the same. Dorothy, Teresa, how would you like to handle this one?
It's fun. Dorothy has been working really hard on these budgets too, so we work together on them, on what she's looking for, some of the things that are needed. Dorothy is expanding some of her programming as well. So like Supervisor Kovalar mentioned, most of these line items are staying the same. We find that she's managing her budget very well. And then there is a slight increase under the contractual services part of it. With that increase in the programming, paying out our contractual service workers or our contractual service contractor. those will be paid out, but you'll also see the bump in the revenue increase as well. So when we have a new class come in, that's reflected on both sides as well. So the good thing with the senior services as well is there are some set aside from community block grant to help offset those classes. So that way we're able to offer it to our residents at a decreased rate for our seniors.
We did increase 2 lines after conversations, realized that Dorothy was not charging for mileage, so we put some mileage in there for her, and suggested that some other opportunities for networking and professional development would be helpful for Dorothy as well. That's reflected in the budget too. Anything else on that part?
Good, no, that's all good.
Good job, Dorothy, as always.
Thank you. Good job, you too.
Actually, I do have a question. How's the bus driver search going?
Well, you know, he's come back.
Yeah, we're still.
Oh, all right, so you're not still driving the buses? Or?
The only time I drive the bus is when I overloaded because we have needs. Like tomorrow, we have a lot of people needing food. So we've got like six people, and I'm going to go out for a couple of runs to help them while they help get everybody their food. So I do go out when I overloaded. It's because, well, we like money, and there are a lot of sick people that are coming up.
Good. Okay, as long as you know
We're
you're still.
staffed. We're staffed, and I'm happy, and I think the residents are more happy that things are level.
Good.
So that's good.
Good job.
Thanks, Lisa.
Hey, Serena?
Ice cream, as you'll see, that's just miscellaneous. If there's anything that comes up that we need to allocate, it is very small. I don't think that we've done anything with the ice arena on that end. We do have a contract with the management company. So same thing, our rents are the same. This just came before the board recently with the renewal of the contract. So nothing has changed in this.
One thing has changed from last year in that the board might remember that we had a lot of conversation about how is the contract being administered, who's really watching over it, are we getting the revenue in that we should be, a number of different concerns. Again, hats off to Teresa and to Susan for administering the contract as well as you have in the past year. I think the township really has a good understanding now of where exactly we are and where we should be. So it continues to be a work in progress, but I think contractually we're way better off this year than we were. So that's good job to both of you.
Chair, who's
Commissioner Bailey.
responsible for the maintenance of the building?
It's all contractual, so we are contracted with Family Entertainment, and
So it's their job to maintain the building?
it depends on what the issue is, yes.
So the gutters on the back side are full, therefore they're not draining, and then also the paint's peeling in the building.
We've addressed the paint peeling, not aware of the gutters, but.
They were cited by a building department inspection that he has yet to.
And the gutters were one that he talked about doing in the spring about, so they extended it.
Okay,
Yes.
so they've both been addressed.
So it goes into their realm, and they have to take care of everything.
Yes.
Moving on to cultural services. Cultural services is kind of a tag team effort, really between all departments, but specifically leisure services and community development. Most of this work is done by volunteers, although we do set-asides to help them, but as the events occur, they generate revenue, which is then reinvested in programs. So who wants to take on this one?
So under cultural services again are the Oktoberfest. The festivals that are in the township are all self-sufficient. We just put in there an allocation in case we need to pay for anything, like we purchase the food, and then what they do is just write the check back to the township. So what money goes out here just comes right back in, so it's a zero net. The MLK breakfast, that's all done by donation. We do have a reserve account for anything that we get over from year to year. We received the Buck Grant twice this year, and then the Democratic Club has also generously given to this this event as well. So both of those, and if you don't mind if I just kind of skip ahead down the page to community promotions as well.
Sure.
that as well with the fireworks and the old-fashioned holidays. Those are the same thing as with Oktoberfest. We just put that money in there, but you'll see on the revenue side that comes right back in as well. So nothing's coming away from the budget.
Questions on those? Moving on to youth services.
Youth services helps offset like the after-school programming and supplies down there. Through Community Block Grant, we can't purchase any supplies for that activity. This is the same. It's budgeted for $82.50. On the revenue side, it's exactly the same as $82.50. We bring in funding through our fitness center as well as our vending machine sales down there. So it's all self-sufficient and just helps add more programming for you.
Teresa already talked about community promotions. Any questions about Parks and Rec, leisure services, cultural, all feel-good stuff? No questions? Dial-A-Ride. You had already asked about staffing for Dial-A-Ride. The person that we had that was out on leave has returned. Dorothy is comfortable with the staffing as it is at the moment. She's able to concentrate more on the senior program, so that's a good thing. Vehicle operations, Teresa, why don't you give us an update on where we are with new vans?
Dorothy has sent in, she's just waiting for the insurance information back, so we can go ahead and take receipt of the van. As soon as that information gets settled, we'll be able to have the brand new van. We are slated to receive new vehicles summer of this year. However, as we all know, we were slated to receive the van in October of last year, and it's taken till now to get that. So we aren't estimating to get those vehicles in. It is a lengthy process. Once that gets approved, they get the contract to us. They still have to wait for those buses to get onto their property. They do all of the necessary to paint it, yep, and make it a smart bus, and then send it on to us too. So we are, Dorothy has been great on keeping up with the maintenance. We've been pretty stern with them on making sure that the things that are being repaired correctly and that they're giving us buses that are only safe on the road. We feel very comfortable with that. She is very familiar with the staff down there, so we're good.
No, we're good there.
So,
Why are you so red?
Well, she said hopefully they're going to save buses. I'm sorry.
oh, I said, so they do give us safe buses. Anyway, so we feel very comfortable. I know there was a concern at the beginning of the fall about this, and we've definitely made sure that we're in contact with them. Melissa talks to us quite often, and when we have questions, we make sure that we contact them all the time.
Another thing that just hit me a long time ago, we got lots of new buses, all of them, they put City of Redford. And we're getting new buses, make sure it's Redford Town, not City of Redford, they had to redo all of them.
Oh,
I remember that. Yeah, so just good if you talk to me,
Okay.
make sure. It just hit me, literally just, City of Redford, everything I'd say. So.
Dispatch. No real changes here either. It's all salaries.
We did add in though, was it under vehicle operation, or we did it in additional hours for part-time staff?
Yep.
Okay, so just, I just wanted to touch on that because you had asked earlier. We did add additional hours in so that way we could have an additional part-time staff to come on. We feel strongly, like Dorothy said, there are getting a lot of people that are coming in for medical calls, and it's very difficult for Dorothy to tell people that need to go on medical calls, no, you know, we're sorry, we're full. So that's why she tries to go out there and take them. So we're hoping that this will pick up some of those as well.
Okay.
We're also looking at some new equipment for mapping and for route guidance. So that's new. That's budgeted.
So the chair,
Commissioner Bailey.
I see a repeating theme here under life insurance. Wherever it's mentioned, it's like $24, $50. How do you get life insurance for that amount of money?
It's allocated per employee and based on hours of that person charged to that department.
The whole year, $24, $25?
Katie?
Sounds like a good deal.
No, I believe it's 140, but their employees are allocated between all of the different departments. in the 588 fund in the dial right, so it's not just a straight 24.
So it adds up to a higher number,
140 per employee.
$140.
Yes.
Life insurance per
Per
year,
employee.
no matter what age. Good job.
Thank you. Maintenance. That's the maintenance that you already talked about with SMART.
Correct. And this year, as you see, there's a little bit more in there. We have a really good handle on the maintenance and the busing, so we felt comfortable with the $10,000 number, so.
Good. Fixed facilities, that's the lease, that's for the garage. Moving on to the administrative piece.
Once again, nothing has really changed in there. We did bump up contractual services just slightly. We're required by MDOT to do drug screens and physicals, or random drug screens throughout the year. So we wanted to make sure that we allocated properly for that. Obviously, we were a little bit higher last year because we did have some new staffing coming in to fill the void when we didn't have some drivers on medical. So, but most of this budget has stayed the same, and we do have the reserves just in case we come across any issues throughout the year.
Questions about dialogue? Okay. Moving on to DPS. This should be a separate paper clip for you. In this packet, we have first page is revenues. We have 104. Turn it over to Director Selby.
So we'll start with the page 240, 200 fund, public service building maintenance. That is set up for the other departments as a cost center, I guess, for lack of better word, to pay their fair share of their operations there. You see that we do have 5 footnotes in there. On one being with Bright House, we recently revised or revisited our contract with Bright House. So these are going to be the prices going forward with the 5-year contract which the board approved. 801003, contractual maintenance agreements. This is for yet to be determined, but we have a ballpark figure on that. That is for email hosting and retention as we look to improve our emails, our hosting capabilities, our phone systems, all on those IT corridor, and so we're putting in the budget there for that.
This was all part of the IT phone contract that the board's been talking about for a while.
The electric, that was a footnote from last year, but we allocated that back up to the other departments. Utilities on the water side, we tried to budget for a water rate increase. Unfortunately, that's happening every year. We don't have a lot of control with that. The capital is with the phones. This is an estimated number of handsets times price per phone, and I believe that was 70. Was it 700 phone?
But between 600 and 700
Yeah,
phone,
so
we're
there's-
estimating.
Yeah, so there's 50 phones in the DPS building, so we need to budget for that for the capital, even though there was a set aside, but we're still going to pay this year for the actual handsets too, so that's what's just in there. Question? The 265 is buildings and grounds. That's all the other buildings that we maintain. Everything there is pretty much flat. We haven't changed anything there. It has been pretty consistent for the last 3 or 4 years. The 441, which is the old GTW, but we still have a cost center there for supplies, oil, and then the allocations for central maintenance and vehicle maintenance. You can see that too is unchanged. 446 is highway and streets. That's where the street lighting is at. That hasn't changed, but we have we had a meeting this afternoon with DTE, so there may be some anticipated increases in street lighting as they have gone to the NPSC to request a rate increase. And what that is, anywhere from 4 to 8%, it's unknown. At this time, what the Public Service Commission is going to do with that request.
This is millage driven. Millage or assessment driven. Yes, Mike?
John, I kind of ask you this question broadly every year. I know it's an interest of Trustee Johnson and mine specifically, but the technology keeps changing, the costs keep coming down, but when people have complaints and stuff, have you looked at maybe reaching out to a company where you can download an app to report like a light issue or a street light out or something, or a more comprehensive tracking system than what we've been using? And if you had, it might be a good time to look at it. And I know I'd certainly be an advocate to try to find money for something like that, but I think as technology is changing and government's getting these tools to be more user-friendly to constituents, I think it's just more beneficial, and it may even free up staff time if it's just electronically kind of going in and kicking out responses, or if guys are in the field and they can answer a complaint through an app. It's just things like that. I know you have tablets and stuff, but I think it's a worthy look and potentially an investment. I know I'd be an advocate of that.
Appreciate that. On the street lighting portion, basically that there is a reporting number that we put on our website, we put on our signs, those types of things. That's kind of really out of our control, the DTE portion of it, but on the light thing, that's a whole other issue we can talk about when we get to.
So like faxing the forms to like DT when something's out?
If there is, we have a PIN number that we can, so we ask the resident to call, that we also report with a PIN number. That
we can also do it online.
That we don't share with, we don't share our PIN number with the general public. That's for the municipality specifically, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have to fax it anymore.
All right, good.
We can actually go online.
And the link is on the website, and it's step by step on how to report it, And if somebody does call us, we direct them to the website to educate them. So in the future, if you see something, you don't need to call us, you can go right to the website. And then obviously we report it from our end also through our reporting system.
Designing an app to report light, those things that would be helpful. Right now we have the township website where you can fill out a complaint form. But it goes through the clerk's office. What's the feedback? That would be a nice next step. I think the building department, when they moved to the tablets, did a phenomenal job at improving communication and responsiveness. Maybe that is something you consider as your next phase.
Tell those employees out there, we're not afraid of the technology, we're not afraid of different ideas and changing, the world changes by the minute, so.
Yeah, absolutely, and I know, every department is typically
And
understaffed,
when we
it's hard to
get to-
focus on these fun projects.
Yeah, and then when we get to another department, we have been advocating for that very hard and strong, and that will tie into what you're talking about.
Okay.
So, in a few.
You'll see it.
All right.
Okay.
But thank you, and thank you for your support.
The next few lines, planning commission,
Planning,
Zoning
zoning,
and
site
site.
committee, those are all straightforward. Those are based on number of applicants and things like that. There is one, there's one part-time employee that's recorded secretary.
and the wage room contract.
Last year, we had a lot of planning commission, very few zoning, so the planning is the best guess on how that's going to happen for wages, right? It all depends on how many applicants we have, so, or reviewing ordinances or anything and such. Okay?
Any questions on that part?
Solid waste are one of our favorite topics of all time. The contract change is fixed, that hasn't changed. I guess it's more about the revenue and what the millage brings in. So there is going to be a shortfall again on the, correct?
Yep. Let's have Katie and Susan address that part.
They can address that portion of that.
It depends on, again, it's like anything else, you're waiting for the taxable value. It's like the other revenue pieces of it. So, hoping to know middle of March. I think he told me like after March 10th, he being Aaron from the assessor's office had all the better ideas.
This budget assumes that that the board continues to not only levy the millage, but also assess a fee. So that is embedded into this contract, but we will have better numbers for you before the board approves it. Before the board finalizes the budget.
Best case is the millage meets the expense, right?
Right.
But
Okay.
again, that hasn't changed, I mean, that's a fixed price on that contract.
Code enforcement, John?
Yeah. If,
48.
three,
Page 3 of 15.
three, is that revenue?
Yes, page 3 is revenue.
Okay. Again, for the third consecutive year, we are budgeting at the same numbers outside of on the revenue activities that are there. We have, as you can see, we exceeded some of those numbers, and we're a little less on some of those numbers. I think one of the big ones is the weeding grass cutting fees. That's down a little bit. It did bring some, about 248, 249. So from 4/1 of 15 through 4, we've had 6,050 ordinance cases. Last year at this time, we had 7,114. So hopefully that's trending the right way for the right reasons. I think our staff does an amazing job, and hopefully that has a lot to do with it. The rentals right now through 2/4 of 16 from April 1, 4,045 registered rentals and approximately 700 vacants. So the vacants are trending down a tad bit. As that trends down a little bit, it seems to be rentals rise with that. So just that's just a little information regarding that. So on page 4,
Before you go to page 4, let's talk a little bit just about revenue for animal control. That is really more of treasurer thing, Katie. Did anybody speak to the revenue with the animal control?
Well, the revenue, I mean, I speak to the revenue that is specifically for the dog license program that's helped, you know, a big portion of that comes in the June event, and the rest obviously comes throughout the rest of the year. The reimbursement line is, that restitution obviously is anything that's ordered by the court, right? And you'll see in the expense line that we've had to bump that up because we've had some holding fees that were not budgeted for. And on a go-forward basis, if we incur these and they're not recoverable, somehow we need to budget for that, right? Even if it's ordered by a court and it's part of the probation, if they don't pay, choose jail or restitution, we can't control that, so. Anything else on that?
No, thank you.
Page 4 of 15. Sidewalk.
Sidewalk activity, couple footnotes in there. Annual maintenance fees for the BSNA, that's been consistent. At least the allocation per rent, and based on 13% of that payment utilities and new phones, that's what's $39,500 instead of $30,900. Sidewalks, paving the sidewalks. It's a journal entry that maybe if you have any questions, Katie or can speak to.
Yeah, I can talk on that right now. Typically in the past, what happens with this is we've budgeted it here, the revenue and the expense offset. However, at year end, it's a journal entry to the capital improvement fund. So this year, we're just not budgeting it because it's not required to be budgeted here, and it offsets anyway.
The rentals, vacancies, and weeds, this is where the employees that work in that area, this is where their expenses are charged.
But this is a pretty big increase in salaries, right?
Well, because I can speak to that.
Yep.
We are moving a full-time ordinance officer out of
CDBG.
block grant monies, 100% back into 248 fund to free up some monies for block grant, and we feel that it can support itself within this fund. So that's salary and fringe.
Any questions on that part? That was just another one of those moves that we made. Okay. Animal control.
Animal control, no big changes there. Certainly that to, except for this is where I spoke about the contract. Added, the contract is the 26,000, but that's for 35,000. That's the holding fees and stuff like that. So we incurred court case where, you know, what the one that we had, the situation we had where the police department asked for felony warrant to charge somebody, and we're holding the dogs. And at this point, we had to make a decision to release the dogs for, you know, $10,000 later. So these were prepared and budgeted for.
You know that the remainder of the cost for animal control is because the position is split
Based on duties.
code enforcement and animal control.
And I will state that we did accept an offer on to an AC officer, and she will be starting on the 22nd of February.
Thank you.
Questions on that?
Questions on that?
Yes, the chair.
Commissioner
Here
Mayor.
under, it's on page 4 out of 15.
Yes, sir.
The second from, above the purple lines, the second line from the bottom talks about lease on buildings.
Yes, sir.
What buildings are we leasing?
This is a,
It's the payment that the 248 and 249 fund paid to the water and sewer fund for their share of the debt and operation of the public services building.
which is no different than the dial-a-ride. Everybody is charged a percentage of the building that they're in.
Based on the space and of the use of the building.
So this is a continuing rental that's been going on for years? And
No,
it
it's
goes
a-
back
It's a.
to the township?
No, it's how we pay the bond for the building.
The building had an expansion in 1999, there's a bond unit on that.
Okay.
That's the funding mechanism for it. $249, on the revenue side, I think we met our target. We've already exceeded our target on revenues 2 months ago. Again, we budgeted a flat budget on a go-forward basis. Those needs.
The note here is that you've been unable to fill the mechanical.
Well, I was on the revenue
position.
portion.
Oh, sorry.
Any questions on the revenue? 249, this is where the actual inspections are charged for, a portion of their salaries that actually do the inspection of plumbing, electrical, mechanical, and building. Contractual services, we can go to the first footnote. So we were finally able to hire a plumbing inspector full-time, but we were not able to find a dual designation person that had plumbing and mechanical, which is a challenge everywhere because they're just not out there anymore. So we still have to do mechanical inspections. So that's what the contractual line item for is for that amount. For $720. Second footnote, the lease on the buildings that we spoke about. that on a couple prior lines, so. Any questions on that? The 97, let's talk about the 97000. That was something that we'd asked the board for last year to put into the budget out of fund balance. So if we did obtain a nuisance abatement of a home or something of that nature, we had the funding in place and we didn't have to come back to the board. Fortunately, we haven't. We have two that are very close, so that's why you see the projected that we may spend some of that before the season's over, or before the budget's over. And some of those that we were targeted actually were completed by Mike and his programs, so which sit us there. So we're asking that again for fund balance on a go-forward basis, that we have the funding in place and to the board to make budget amendments within the budget to do that. The equipment on capital, actually the board approved the purchase of 6 pickup trucks for the full-time inspectors. I have 2 part-time inspectors, and to replace their 2 19-something police cars with new pickups also out of fund balance. And that would, the whole fleet would be ragged. So we're asking for that's 2 capital we're asking for.
Any questions on code enforcement 248, 249? Bunch.
Other than those 2 pickups, how's the rest of the fleet? Everything else is?
Well, we just purchased the 6 new pickups.
So those are all good. So I mean, you essentially all 8 together. Those
So we'll
are
have 8 pickups that are either 2016s or 2017s.
That's wonderful.
So no more the hand-me-down police car and just throwing money at those things all the time, right, between maintenance, you know.
Yep.
Well, I was actually relieved. I sold the last 4 police cars last Friday, so I won't have to do that anymore for them.
The great part about the community is that residents now see a very professional looking fleet, not just DPSN, but you know, the police department has their new fleet. When they're out in the community, people see the vehicle. It's very clearly marked. It's very consistent, same color, same logo, same everything. And it's a lot easier for the inspectors who are out there pulling up bags of trash and signs off of poles and wherever to put it in their pickup truck as opposed to trying to open up an old beat up police car. Great progress. And that all came out of fund balance.
Through the chair.
Yep.
This, and we've talked about this before too, is there consistency now with DPW logos
Yes.
and police and
Well, to the best of our
ability? Yeah, obviously there's existing.
Yeah.
I can speak to the DPS portion. They are all the same because some of the new vehicles that we bought from Water this year, we gave the vans to Parks Maintenance and got rid of a bunch of old, really old stuff, equipment. Right, put all the same logos on. They all got the same web address. You know, everything's all uniform now. So
Wonderful.
They all look like that, pretty much.
and again, that's without the support of the board on those purchases. And it was and it's a great morale thing too, right? I mean, the staff out there working hard too. Kind of always been getting the hand-me-down stuff, so the opportunity to put a little bit of fun balance to make those purchases.
Moving on to the golf course, revenues are online. We've been meeting regularly with the Hawthorns. The contract that we've renegotiated with them has worked out well for the township, and it is starting to work out a little bit better for the management company. Obviously, the weather this year has helped tremendously. They've golfed every month, so that's a good thing. We met with them recently to talk about automation and technology, right? How do we help drive more people to the golf course? We decided, we talked about this last year, it's a valuable asset for the community and one that we want to draw attention to. We think it's a way to attract not only visitors, but attract maybe even new residents, right? We've got this great jewel here, but if people don't know that it exists, how are we helping them? So one of the big changes that we're anticipating with Glenhurst this year is a social media, electronic website. It's not even that, it's more than a website.
Right.
It's a whole marketing strategy.
To the chair.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes, on this, I can actually speak to this because I was assisting Hawthorne Management last year with some advice and counsel moving forward, and we built up a bit of a relationship. So the first thing I do want to say is Hawthorne reached out to me and my company in order to look at what type of marketing options would be available. As such, I do want to at least disclose that to you and not weigh in on any aspects of the budget, just on potential. Although there's not a conflict of interest because I am working directly with Hawthorne Management and not with Redford Township per se, but I did want to disclose that to you in the interest of transparency and to make sure that there is no, I step back from this portion. But what it is essentially is Hawthorne is looking for a much more modernized website with the integration capacity to do online tea times. So somebody could actually just go to their website, sign up, do the online tea time, set up their thing, come right in, show their pass, go out and golf. In addition to that, they're looking to do an aggressive targeted advertising campaign along with a brand new social media, essentially presence, modern updates with rich in imagery, video, so on and so forth. So this is going to be a very aggressive package from the call it from the March to the September timeframe during the golf season, and then it's a little bit lighter on the maintenance side, just continuing to promote things like their pro shop, or to promote things like their the restaurant that's in there, so on and so forth throughout the entirety of the year. And if you have any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer those. I personally will not be working on that contract. My team, my other people within the company are going to be doing that, but I can give you some good information on any of it if you'd like a detailed summation of it.
So the department heads who were working on the project with Glenhurst, Teresa, Selmy, Susan, me, we did not reach out to Trustee Johnson. The Hawthorns did. If and when a contract or more information is necessary, Jay said that he would recuse himself. He understands that while he doesn't see it as a conflict of interest, he doesn't want there to be one. So we've pretty much let the Hawthorns handle what they want to do. We've just asked them to do something, technology speaking.
And on that note too, though, we did bring some big vendors to the Hawthorns.
We did.
A being NBC Sports / Comcast with their information, which is in a lot of places. They did some homework. We had met with them a few times privately, then we met with the Hawthorns with that group. Was it Teed Up Now or
Golf Now?
Golf Now is their app. The Hawthorns did some work. They reached out to other golf course management companies. They weren't comfortable with that transition, so they felt more comfortable in a different transition, which part of our contract with them was to reach out to grow the business mutually.
Right.
So that's what they select. That's what they think they're going to select on a go-forward basis. So technology changing, you know, that's a big thing to brand yourself and have that information out. But that being said, though, so this budget was done before any of that was under consideration, or actually a commitment from the Hawthorns, from their management stuff. So if you go to the advertising cost line, where I only projected, I filled out this budget where it was budgeted at $21,000, and then we anticipated that they would only spend, you know, the projected was $5,000, and then they only $5,000. So I would ask that we change the projected to $15,000, so they can enter into some, because there's a cost obviously to go to the website and do the things that they want to do. And then on a go-forward basis next year, that we do put the $21,000 back in, or $20,000 that was in this year's current budget.
Yeah, I talked to Nick today, and he said that he really looked at things and he thought that maybe for next year he would need no more than 15.
Okay.
So.
Or 15, I'm good with that. I mean, just so that
Right.
it's reflected.
I mean, it's up to you, but
Yeah,
that's what he
no,
told me
yeah.
today, so.
I guess as an enterprise fund though, with, you know, I'd rather have 20 in there that way, which was in this year. If they don't expense it, obviously just rolls back
Right.
into their fund. That saves work on your guys' part to come back and do a budget amendment and those types of things, but whatever the board is comfortable with.
To the chair. I have a question. I spoke with Nick as well today. He asked me about a insert that he put in the water bills in March and April of last year. I called Jen today and have not got a call back whether I plan on following up with her tomorrow, but I believe this is a good time to ask how that gets done or if it's going to get done.
So that gets done, I'll answer that if you don't mind. That
Okay.
gets done through the billing portion. They have a schedule of available slots that are available in the billing process.
Okay.
April and May, he may or may not get, depending. There's some things that the water department does need to send out. One being fog, fats, oil, and greases, and the other one being wipes in the pipes. Something that we need to be aggressive on for sewer backup claims. So those will probably be a little priority in front of those, but and then those can go on behind it. We can only insert one card.
So, okay, so my question would be if he's looking at trying to get that insert in North Redford and South Redford at one time or another?
Right, because we bill half the township at a time.
Right, so who needs to get back with him and let him know?
Somebody will get back with him.
As far as?
Jenny.
Okay.
Jenny.
She meant to let them know the card stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they just did them this year, so they have.
Well, like I told him, he asked me how many houses there were, and I told him 22,000. He wants to know how many possibly, because he wants to get Jim at Night Owl to print them, and then you guys could give him whatever months you can put them in.
So the eeasier thing for him is to either call Jenny or call myself.
Okay.
And then we can just.
And I'll just give
expedite
Jenny
that.
his cell number. Okay.
That's one of the new directions though, right? That we weren't really able to quantify the value in inserts nor the value with Valpak or whatever else he was using. And when Nick couldn't quantify it for himself, he decided that maybe this new thing called the World Wide Web might be a really cool thing to tap into. So it's really been a great progress with the Hawthorns to see how much they've changed and embrace the whole idea of technology and how if they grow their business, it's good for everybody. So it's been slow, but it's been really good.
To the chair.
Commissioner Bailey.
So under the Hawthorne, they reached out for a management consultant, but we're paying for it out of the township.
The township provides Hawthorne management with a full budget to manage the golf course and all of the operations. All of the contracts that go under Hawthorne management are under Hawthorne management. Gordon Food Services, beer and wine, grass cutting, flower planting, they take care of all of that.
It comes out of the 600,000 that they
We provide them with a budget. Here's their budget. They have to live within that budget.
So $600,000 is their take-home pay.
The $640,000 are their management fees, which you'll see have been renegotiated over the past 18 months, and they've been reduced drastically from where they were and where they were headed to where they are.
So it's half of what we generate, right? They walk away generally $600,000. We're generating $1,100.
They're paid to manage the golf course.
Right. And then we provide them with the budget for everything to make the golf course work. In other words, that $600,000, they're not on the hook for anything. That's their take-home pay.
I wouldn't call it their take-home pay. I would say that that's the cost of doing business.
They pay their staff out of there too.
Yeah.
Salaries.
Everything else.
Right.
Do you have another proposal?
Greenskeepers.
No, we'll try another question, but that's later.
Go ahead. We're talking about the budget for the golf course.
Right. That's okay. Go on.
I'd like to answer all of the questions if we can. that department. Nothing? Okay. All right, anything else? No? Okay. Moving on to page 12 of 15, this is the internal service charges and revenues for vehicle maintenance. Again, as you will remember, we consolidated all vehicle maintenance. These are the charges for the people that are assigned to that department, as well as any activities for repairing any vehicle in-house that we need to repair. This is a internal adjustment based on pure activity. We are looking at some new software, I think. Were you looking at some new software for? No? Central maintenance is exactly the same thing, based upon activities. Personnel could be anything from unplugging a toilet to cutting grass to moving furniture. Anything that is done by our personnel gets reallocated to the department that they provided the service for. Okay.
And that allocation is done by, they put down, there's 4 people that are charged to these 2 accounts. They put down where they work their time, then put that into an Access spreadsheet, and then Katie does the allocation twice a year. Right.
Any questions about that? Those are all of the departments we had on the agenda for tonight. Do you have any questions from previous study sessions that we can look up for you or answer for you? Nothing? No changes? Everybody's still good?
The chair.
Commissioner Bailey?
There's one thing about this one here. There's a mention about...
Which one where?
Page 11. 11 out of 15.
Okay.
So the last purple line, it says capital set aside, a pump for the Rouge River. Is that pull water out of the pond?
So that actually, that's correct. That actually, so about 5 years ago, we were irrigating directly from city water, and it was a dry year, and we spent over $70,000 in municipal water and sewage costs, which when they redeveloped the golf course, they put in a line all the way to the river. So we advocated very hard to Hawthorne management that they needed to reduce their water costs and start incorporating that pump. So that's what they've done. They pump the water into the pond, they aerate it, and from time to time they add city water if needed if the river's down. So that pump, as a capital plan on a go-forward basis, we have to plan for capital improvements, and that's what the fund is for.
In situations like that with the pond, do we do anything about mosquito control?
They aerate. They aerate every day, and they irrigate. So to the best of my knowledge, there's not a mosquito problem. It's not stagnant water. It's aerated. It's moving. It has a pond. It has a fountain.
As a fountain.
Right. And plus, they're drawing tens of thousands of gallons out there on a nightly basis to irrigate the course. That's all they do, the irrigation. So, pretty large terminal. And you can imagine, do the math backwards, $70,000 for water, a lot of water. So it's a little convincing, but they seem to like and have reduced their water usage to $10,000.
And that's pretty customary, I would think, places where you have water available, right?
If you have another source of water other than municipal water and pay those costs.
Well, Western does the same thing, right?
Western does not, because they're on a different branch of the river, and that water is not suitable for golf course. So that's their greenskeeper's opinion. So he refuses to use it, and that's what our greenskeeper was listening to until we convinced him that that was not the case. So it's a matter of opinion of professionals or preference.
Anything else? No? Motion to adjourn? So moved.